Hey everybody, Tom here, and today in this video I want to teach you how to make my storage solution for smartphone. Now, as of the recording of this video, everything that I've made is for the Kickstarter version because that's what I have. It's possible in the future I might release just a regular version thing, but I think for the most part you can just adapt. But anyway, let's talk about what I have in my storage solution here so that you can see what we're about to make, and then I'll start teaching you how to make that stuff. So basically, what we have here are, I should have counted before, 5 player boxes, 2 general component boxes, 2 boxes to hold the pads, 1 box for the retailers, and 1 box for the scenario tokens. Now, that looks pretty overwhelming. It is a lot of work, but all of this stuff is available for free on my website. Well, you can get to it through my website, tomteachesgames.com. I have all of these files uploaded to boardgamegeek.com, so you can download and print all of that stuff for free. And then in this video, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So even though these boxes all look pretty different, there are actually only 3 templates that I've used to create all of these. I just changed the dimensions and the designs on a lot of them. So what we're going to do is, let me take out these boxes and kind of tell you what we've got going on here. I'll try to sort them into the 3 types of boxes. So basically over here, all of these boxes are created using one type of template. And so essentially each box has a lid and a base, and you could tell pretty quickly that those are basically the same. And then inside of them, they each have a box, and the base and these little boxes are made the exact same way. Okay, so every player box is going to have 4 pieces, but those 4 pieces are, I'd use the same template for all of those. And then these boxes here are basically just a base and a lid that are, again, the same template as the other player boxes. Same with this one right here. Okay, so basically I'm going to teach you how to make one of these things, because once you know how to make one, you can make all of these things here. Then these 3 things are a new design that I have. So basically these 3 boxes here are all made using the exact same template, a lid and a base, and these 2 are even the exact same template, the same design. So once you know how to make one of them, you can make the other things too, but it's pretty simple. It's just a box. That one's really easy to put together. You might be able to figure it out without this video. And then finally, I converted my Tiny Towns boxes to just make this one. So there are actually videos already out there on how to make this box, but I'm going to cover that in this video too, just so that that's included, so it's all in one nice place. All right, so that was a lot of talking to basically say I'm going to teach you how to make 3 boxes. Basically these tray-like things, these boxes, and this components box. So when you go onto Board Game Geek, you'll have the files. I think I'm going to split it up into a couple different files, but you're just going to want to print everything onto cardstock. Now I use just a really cheap normal cardstock. I've heard people use like a really nice, sturdy, expensive cardstock, and things don't really close the way that they should. This is just like, I don't know, it's just the cheapest. When I go to Walmart and I see cardstock, I buy a package of it. So nothing too fancy here, and it seems to work out just fine for me. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print off all of those boxes, or all of those pages, or at least the pages for the things that you're going to want. And what I'm going to do is, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make, we're going to make this box right here. And again, by teaching you how to make this, you're going to be able to make all of these things. And then we're going to make this one here. And then we're going to make this one here. So I've printed off the template for that blue player box, for the larger pads box, and finally for that small scenario box. I will also, right after I teach you the blue box, I'm going to just show you really quickly, it won't take very long, exactly how I made this semi-complicated looking inside of this yellow box here. And so, yeah, after the blue box, I will show you just the little twist that I have on that particular box. But to make all of these things, I try to keep everything just as simple as possible except for tape, because I am a tape crazy person. But basically, as I mentioned before, you're going to want to print out whatever pages you want to make, print them on cardstock, use color, whatever. And then from there, you probably want a paper cutter. You don't need one, you could just stick with scissors, but this will make things a little easier. Obviously, you're going to need a pair of scissors. And then you're just going to need tape. Now, normal humans just have one type of tape, and that's fine, and you'll be great. For this whole project, I ended up using 3 different kinds of tape because I'm crazy. Let me just quickly explain the different kinds of tape and why I'm crazy, and ignore my tape dispenser's a little old. It's my grandma's, so it's, anyway. So you can see this tape here is a little bit cloudy. If I remember correctly, this tape is called invisible tape, I think. Yeah, I think this one's called invisible tape, and basically it's invisible on white paper. So anytime I'm taping something that doesn't have printing on it, I use this tape. Then I think this one's transparent. I might have these backwards. It's been a while since I've looked at them. Or it could be transparent, and it doesn't matter. But this is a different kind of tape, super clear, not cloudy at all. I use this anytime I'm taping on something that was printed. It disappears more easily. And finally, I like to use double-sided tape for some of the stuff I'm going to be doing. You definitely do not have to do that. Just roll whatever tape you have if you want. But I have just found double-sided tape is just a little bit faster and easier. So that's what I'm going to be using. So first things first, once you get your pages, my recommendation is to just spend some time with the paper cutter and cut all of the templates out. Now, on each page, I would just recommend just cutting all the way around the outside. Just cut on those solid lines on the outside until you have the pieces. So like this one, there's just one part to cut out. This one, you're going to have 2 parts here. And this one, you're also going to have 2 parts. So just cut around the outsides of the shape with the paper cutter, and then we'll be done with the paper cutter. So it's the camera's right here with a big tripod. I can't use for example, I can't use the paper cutter around the tripod. So I'm going to be right back. I'm literally just going to go cut exactly what I just described. I'm going to go cut out these pieces. Go ahead and pause the video and do the same if you want, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I'm back. As you can see, we have the pieces for this box right here. We have the pieces for this box here, and we have the pieces for this box here. So I'm just throwing on some timestamps on the screen in case you want to jump ahead or whatever. And with that said, let's go ahead and dive in to learn more about this box. So I'm going to actually call this a tray instead of a box, because on my website I have all sorts of things. To me, a box, my boxes will have a lid attached and they'll close. These are just trays. And even though it ends up being a box, it's just a tray on the bottom and a tray on the top, and then they close over these trays in the middle. So I'm going to call this a tray. And just so you can see the anatomy of it, it's basically just like a tray on the inside, and then I've glued in this divider inside of that tray to keep the 2 different types of pieces separated. Okay, really straightforward. So for now, let's just work on the outside part. So what you're going to do when you're ready, all of the trays will look, like I said, they'll be different dimensions and different artwork, but they're all going to basically look like this. And on every single one of these, you're going to have 4 corners with an X. That's always where I start these. So we're just going to take a pair of scissors, and we're going to cut out the 4 corners. Okay. Now, I'm going to also say something here in a second. I'm going to do, usually as I'm doing this on camera, I'll do half of it pretty slowly. And then I'm going to show you some shortcuts I've learned from making tons and tons of these. So let's do the short version first. You could cut out all of those corners, just the corners with the X's. That's, if I put an X, it's garbage. In fact, I should also say dotted lines on my designs are cutting lines, and solid lines, for the most part, are folding lines. Okay, so you can see here they're dotted, and I put an X just so that you know that that's going to be discarded. All right, so the slow version is just to cut these out, and you're going to be left with this little tab here. We're going to end up needing to cut that into a trapezoid shape. The angle does not matter at all. It's just going to make things a little bit easier as we tape stuff down. So the slow way is to cut out the X's and then cut out those small triangles. But the fast way, as you've guessed, is to just do that all in one swoop. So I'm going this way, there's my tab, so I'm just going to go at an angle like that. And this one I'll just start the angle, and then I'll finish that up like this. Oh, one more thing that I should have pointed out is, especially on the trays, oh, it's really hard to see. Let me see if I can help you out. So there was a black outline. That's shadow that you're seeing there, but there was a black outline. When I cut this out, I actually cut off the black outline. It's gonna look a little bit neater. Sorry, I should have said that earlier, but yeah, if you need to, you can pause and just trim the black outline off of those pages. It's just gonna look a little bit nicer. I'll try to annotate that for those instructions. Anyway, first step, cut off the corners and then make these tabs trapezoidal. Okay, let's go the slow way on these two sides, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut for these two sides. We're going to do all of our cutting first. All right, the slower version is cut out these parts with the X's. Okay, so you're going to see 4 more X's. We need to cut those out. You could tell you need to cut them out because it's dotted all the way around. So we're just going to go ahead and cut out those pieces with the X's. You can already see one of my shortcuts, I'm sure, but there's going to be more to it than that. Okay, so I'm just going to start by cutting off these X's. Again, on this lower half, I'll just go the slower version as you're learning about these designs, and then I'll show you my shortcuts here in just a second. Now you're going to also notice on these that some of the boxes are going to say the word trim here and some are not. That's just because of the length of this tab, this wing, I'm going to call it here. In this example, it's just a little bit too long, so we're going to need to trim it down. We'll do that later, but I just want you to not freak out if you're touching one of these trays that doesn't have the word trim. That's okay. All right, so we cut out those 2 X's. Next, you could see 2 more dotted lines here and 2 more over here. So we're definitely going to cut those. Like this. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to need to do a little bit more trimming, and including this, but we're going to do that last. So first thing is, these tabs out here are just like those ones. They're going to need to be like a little trapezoid for where they're going to end up. They don't have to be, but it's going to look a lot nicer. It's going to fold better. Okay. Next, you might have noticed some of these little dots. Now, all of my templates, I make everything in Microsoft Word using a table. This is just a table that I started off with. I started measuring things and making lines solid and dotted and adding artwork and all that stuff. It's just a table. So because of that, I'm kind of limited in what I can do. These are just little periods. But the reason why these are here is, as we're folding, we're going to be folding over these parts that have the dots. So we're going to be folding over these pieces, folding over these pieces. And if we don't adjust them, it's just going to make the folds a little sloppy. And so what I'm going to recommend is you find the side with the dots. The dot in the corner shows you which corner you need to cut, and the second dot is going to be the direction. So I need to cut this corner in this direction. And there's no science to this. It's just like these triangles. We just need to go at an angle. Usually I just recommend cut off the dots. Do something like that, okay? Get it at a slight angle like that. Now you could see 2 more dots down here. Same idea. We're going to start here and go all the way to that corner. So I'm cutting all the way to the corner like that. Okay. Now we got to do that same thing over here. And then we're going to do that same thing right here. And then, like I said, if we were to not trim off the word trim here in just a second, then it's not going to work. You'll need to do that later. So all I'm going to do at this point is just cut off the word trim, cut off the word trim, and that's good to go. Okay, so that was the slow way to do those 2 sides. I'm going to do it a little bit faster this next time, but the way that I've learned to do it faster is just by looking at this weird shape. It almost looks like a chair kind of a thing, and you can kind of see where the angles are. I'm going to basically do all of those cuts in one move. Okay, so I'll try to talk my way through it. Here we go. Okay, so I know that I'm going to want to cut off that triangle right here. So I almost always just start right there because it's a cut that I know needs to happen. Then I'm going to follow this dotted line here. and I see 2 dots right here. So on my cuts, I'm going to make sure that I cut off those 2 dots like that. Now I'm going to follow the dotted line over and around. Okay, and then my very last cut, I mean, we could do 2 cuts. I'm going to do one just like that to get those 2 dots off. And then let's just hit that trim. And that's it. So let's do that again over here. I usually start with the tab that I know needs a cut. And then I go down. I see 2 dots over there that I know I'm going to need to cut off, so I just angle in that direction. Go around. I'm going to end up calling this thing a tab. So we're going to go around the tab. And then I see these 2 dots here, so now I'm just going to go all the way down like that. And that's cut out, and then because this one says trim, I'm going to trim that off. All right, this thing is all cut and ready to go. Now, my recommendation is, I mean, just for speed, I usually will get all of my trays, these templates that look like this, I get all of those cut out while I'm watching Judge Judy. And then I do all of my folding and my taping. So I do all of my cuts, and then all of my folds, and then all of my taping. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this thing folded. And when I say folded, I don't mean like assembled, I just mean creased. So for me, it's easiest to turn this upside down, which seems counterintuitive. I know that I need to fold on all of these solid lines. And so the reason why I like to fold it that way is, first of all, the folds are going to need to go this way. But also, as you're pulling the paper down, you can see right where the fold is and give it the crease that it needs. So you could see here we have a pair of sides, and I'm going to call these tabs. Okay, the tab means that it's close to the bottom of those sides. And here we have 2 sides, and I'm going to call these things wings. Okay. Now, as I'm cutting, as I'm folding, and then you're going to see again when I'm taping, you always go tabs first, and then the wings. So we're going to start with the tabs. These are super easy to fold. You don't need to see anything. So I'm just going to take those tabs and fold them in. I use my thumbnail to crease it. Take that, fold it in, crease it with your thumbnail. Okay. Now you can see here there's going to need to be 3 folds, but I'm going to help you again with another shortcut. My first fold I'm going to make is right here, right above the tabs. So I'm going to bring this page down. You can see I kind of skipped a fold. And what I'm doing in my brain visually, I don't know how well you could see this, can you? Kind of. I'm trying to line this line up with the tab cuts. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that this is like one long line right there. And if you do that, hold it with your finger, crease it with your thumb, you're going to hit that solid line perfectly. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to keep this folded down and fold on this line, because that's right where that other line is too. So I'm just holding it down like this, and I'm just using my thumbs to kind of show the paper where I want it to bend. And then I'm going to just bring it down and crease it with my thumb, just like that. Okay, and you can kind of see this is going to be the side of the box. All right, so let's do that one more time over here. Remember, tabs first. So tab, crease, tab, crease. And then we're going to fold on this line right on the top of the tabs. And I'm using this line to line up with those cut marks to crease it. Then I just use my thumbs to hold that into place as I bring it up. And I try to make sure that I have a nice straight line right there. Okay, I've tried to make my designs pretty foolproof. Like, you have to kind of try to really mess up here. All right, so those are done. We did the tabs side first. Now we're going to do the wings side. So same idea for the wings. And there's a reason why I do this. I'm trying to give you hints from doing this after years and well, hundreds of these boxes. Okay, first things first, let's fold in the wings. Just so you have a nice straight line right there. Fold in the wings like this. Nice straight line. And now here's why I fold the tab side first. As this is on the table, these are kind of, it's hard to see in 3D, and especially because that's so white. But basically, these are kind of pointing upward. And that's going to help us with our next fold. So I'm going to bring this stuff down, and I'm kind of locking the wings on these sides. Let me hold it up closer to the camera so you can see. You can kind of see that because those sides are folding upwards, I'm locking the wings on there, and it's getting me my fold exactly where I want it to be. Just like that. And then same as before, I want to fold on this line, and that's going to get the line on the back as well. So I'm just going to hold it right there, fold down until it makes a nice straight line. And there it is. That's going to be another side of the box. Okay, let's do that one more time over here. Wing over, wing over. I'm bringing this side down and using these sides that are naturally folding up. Sorry, I recognize that it's so bright, and I'm really sorry about that. Okay, I'm just using those folded up sides, the natural crease there, to get me this side. And then I'm just going to push that over, just like that. Okay, again, so sorry. I'll try to tinker with the contrast side. It's just blinding white right now. Okay, at this point you can double check every single line has a crease, which is perfect. So just like with the folds, the first thing we're going to tape are the tabs. And we're going to do one side at a time. Now again, you could kind of just try to, like you could just bring these things up like this and tape them, but I found that I made lots of mistakes with my corners. And so I'm going to show you a trick to get really perfect corners. Okay, so holding your paper like this, you're holding the sides with the tabs. I know that in the final design, these things are going to be up like this. Okay, this is what it's going to end up looking like, something like that. But what I want to do is I want to kind of turn these sides inside out. So you can kind of see I'm just pushing it like this. I'm going to basically turn this thing inside out. And again, ultimately this side's going to come up and over, but I'm going to turn it inside out. So see it like that. I'm going to take this side and tuck the wings underneath. Again, we're just basically turning this box inside out. So can you see this, what I'm doing? I'm just taking those wings and I'm tucking them under the side just like this. The reason I'm doing this is tucking it is going to give you the corners exactly where you want them. So if you just hold on to the sides, I'm just going to throw a piece of tape right there. It's not printed, so I'm using the cloudy tape. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of hold it like this, and I know that this piece is underneath, so I usually use my index finger to just tuck it right into place. Grab a piece of tape, and it goes like that. If you have extra tape like that, don't sweat it, because you can just bring this side up and push it. And hey, look, we've got the sides of our box starting to form. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. So again, I'm going to turn the box inside out. These tabs go in. I'm bringing the side up, and I'm tucking the wings under these sides like that. I've basically turned my box inside out. I'm going to put some pressure right here. Again, I recognize I'm kind of overcomplicating this. You could just tape it together. I'm sure you'll be fine. But I've just done enough of these that I know that I like good corners. Okay, I have a little extra tape hanging up there, so I'm just going to bring this side up like that. Okay. Next, we just took care of the tabs. Now it's time to take care of the wings. This is kind of magical. I love this part. We're just going to take this side with the wing, and usually what I do is I just grab a piece of tape long enough to go, oops, just like that. And we're just going to push that down and in. Now, everything I try to do with these boxes as much as possible is, especially because I use pretty cheap cardstock, as I try to make sure that there's enough layers to make the box strong. So we have 2 tabs here, plus the front and the inside. I basically have 3 to 4 layers right on that side of cardstock, so it's pretty nice. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let me just put some tape here. And hopefully you can see why I just explained that, what's happening with the wings. So this is going to go down and in like that. And these wings are going to be inside of here, giving that more stability. So I'm just going to throw some tape on that, and that just pushes in. And I usually just try to make sure I pinch down in the bottom corner so that the side isn't like slanted upward. And once it's like nice and snug, I push on the tape. And then we're going to do that same thing over here. Tape, go down and in, and before you push on the tape, make sure your corner is nice and snug. I'm struggling a little bit on that side. Okay, oh, and then we'll push in the tape. And you can kind of see I left a little bit of a black border accidentally. That just becomes more visible. That's what I was saying at the beginning with you can cut off the, make sure that black edge around the outside of the whole shape is gone. But whatever. Last thing I like to do is I just like to kind of fold in those corners just so gently like that, just to make sure that they're nice and square. And there's our box. Okay, one last piece for this particular project is we've got that divider. So essentially this divider is going to make, like we need to make like a peak like that, but it can be tricky to fold that super nicely. So what I usually do is I go in half like this. And I know that this needs to fold this way, but these aren't exactly the same size. So to do this carefully, I actually just fold it this way so that I can see the line. And then same thing over here, fold it that way so I can see the line, and then crease it. And I know those creases are going backwards, but we can just fix that right this second. I'm just gonna push it like that, and it's good to go. Now, you could tape this or not. You could use a roll of tape. Since I have double-sided tape, I'm just gonna use a little bit of that right here. So I usually just, in one of these middle sections, put a little bit of tape, and then I close it and push it so that it just stays together. And whatever, you could do some rolls of tape, or I'm going to do double-sided tape again. I usually just put one piece down here at the bottom, and I make sure that my icons are lined up, okay? And then I'm just going to put that right in there and push down. And once I feel like it's in a good place, go like that, okay? And that's all that is right there. Now, I just want to do a quick side note about my yellow box, because the yellow box is a little more complicated looking on the inside. Ignore this typo, I have fixed it. It's no P, that's wrong. But basically this looks more complicated than it is. Essentially, once you have your base, let's pretend like this is the base for a second. These are the two dividers right here, okay? Essentially, you can kind of see this is going to go in the base of the box like that. Okay, so you're just going to fold those like normal. Notice, even though these are solid, we didn't fold there. That's just to distinguish what goes where. So just going to fold it like that, and then you're going to fold this part like this, and it goes into the base of your box. Now you could just leave it like this if you want to, or you could take the other divider, and let's just do a quick folding job on that one. This is just basically a secondary divider. Oh, I'm already breaking my own rules, but I'm just trying to go quickly. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And right there. Okay. And then this second divider, you can see it's just the exact same image, but with an actual divider there. We'll just get taped right in that spot. So it looks more complicated than it is. It's just two divider shapes there. And that's how you're going to make all of these trays. So all of the trays that look like that, plus the lids, you can see the lid is that exact same thing. And the bases, where's my base? So two boxes like that. And then this base is, again, just the exact same design with one of these dividers taped down in it. And then that will just all assemble. I have the pieces out already, but yeah, that'll assemble like that. And there is your first project there. Okay, here we are at our second project. The second project is going to be the pads box. Now, I didn't like how close the words were to that cut right there, so I'm actually literally redoing this for my own personal collection. I have one where there's a little bit more space. Now, I just want to show you that the lid and the base, these are identical, well, they're really similar designs, so we're just going to be making the base, and the lid is the exact same thing. But I want to give you a little tour, like we did last time, about what it is we're going to be doing. So you can basically see this is just like a paper wrapped around like a present. We're going to be taping on this side. You could see the invisible tape shining when I get the light right, kind of, whatever, pretend like you can. And then we're basically just going to fold the bottom. But the thing that's kind of invisible for people to see is I hate paper cuts, but also I know that we're going to be sliding things in and out of this part of the box a lot, so I wanted it to be sturdier. So if you look closely in there, you can see there's a little bit of extra paper just folded inward to make sure that that doesn't cut anybody, and so that it doesn't wear out so easily. And it adds a little bit of strength too. Okay, so you can really see here, this is pretty straightforward. We're going to have the sides of the box. The bottom of the box, it's really hard to see, is a little bit gray with one white piece. You'll see why that's white in a second. And then these parts are going to be the part that just holds the stability. That's going to be the opening like I was talking about before. So you can see right here we're going to have a bunch of dotted lines, including one X, and then we got some dotted lines down there. So we're going to start off on the base. Let's just cut those dotted lines. Really, really simple. And then, okay. Now on this side here, let's cut out this X. On this side, you can just cut on the lines, no big deal. But again, a tip for you, because I've made several of these at this point, is that this is going to fold better if we actually cut these kind of like trapezoids like we did before. So I'm actually going to go ahead and trapezoid that one. And instead of just cutting on the dotted lines on this part, again, this is the white part, I'm just going to do a slight trapezoid instead of just cutting on the lines like that. Okay, really not a dramatic trapezoid, just a little one, something like that. Okay, that's all the cutting that we need to do on that one. So next up, what we're going to do is we're just going to fold all of these lines and fold all of those lines. Really straightforward. So it doesn't matter where you start. I usually just start with the base. And we're just going to fold. And especially when you cut first, it's going to help you because your cut mark, if you were careful on your cut mark, that's going to show you exactly how far down you need to bend. If you don't bend far enough, like I kind of just didn't, just pull it a little bit and recrease it with your thumb. Okay. And we'll go like that, oh, something like this, and like that. Okay, so that's all of those folds. Let's do the same thing up here. Again, especially with those little V's cut out, that makes this pretty easy. Right there. Okay. And then same idea. These cuts are going to show you exactly where to fold this way. So usually what I do is I just start on one end and I bring it down. I'm using those cut marks to help guide me. And then I crease it. And then I fold over some more. Use those cut marks. Crease it. Okay, let's do that again. Fold, crease, and we'll go this way for that one. Like that. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is let's tape down these three pieces here. Again, those are the trapezoids. That's the top. That's just our protective layer. I'm only going to tape down those three, and you'll see why in just a second. Okay, so it's cloudy tape again for me just because it's more invisible. Like this. Okay, if you want to get really crazy and make sure you get all of that, but whatever. All right, so we've taped down those three. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the box. Obviously the part with the typing needs to go on the outside. And you could do a couple different things. You could do a roll of tape right here. I'm going to use my double-sided tape because I've got it. So I'm just putting down some double-sided tape. And what I like to do is keep this flat. So like I just make sure I have those two sides showing. And then this side should just be a little extra. You're just going to bring that down and around and push it in like this. Now the reason why we didn't tape this one down yet is because we wanted to tape it around this piece. So I'm just going to add a little piece of tape onto it now. And we're going to bring that down and around. Okay, so that's the top part, nice and easy, no paper cuts here, super cool. Okay, as we come down here, you're going to see there's going to be one tab on each of these, but two tabs on that overlapping side. That's why this one was white, because what you're going to do is I like to push the white side down first, then pick either one of these. It really doesn't matter which one. You're going to pick one of those and push it down. Okay, and now I'm going to end up bringing these down, like this is how it's going to end up. It's just like that. But if we do it like that, you can see that these tabs are a little bit out. And so what I do at this point is I grab my scissors, now that I know which side I want to trim, and I just trim like that, trim like that. And you could go crazy if you want to. You could pre-tape these down. You could add some double-sided tape. It really does not matter. Don't get too crazy here. So I'm just gonna add a little double-sided tape on that. Okay, this isn't rocket science on this. Oh, that was too small, but it doesn't matter. I like to believe that I'm the Bob Ross of board game crafts. You just do what feels good. Okay. So we've got those down, and then I'm just going to fold this part down like that. I happen to have some double-sided tape, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that like crystal clear tape just because it's a little bit printed. It's not perfectly white, and I'm just going to add some right there. If you want to, just to make sure that these don't get damaged, you could add a little bit of tape on each side there. Okay, go like that. Let's get a little bit more. If you're worried about this side over here where we had wrapped around, feel free to put a little bit of tape right there so that that doesn't come up either. And at that point, it's ready to go. So we can take our pads and slide them right in there. Oh my gosh, I'm struggling. Oh, okay. And then we've got our lid, and that's done. Okay, there you go. And that is the exact same template I used for the retailer boxes. They're just smaller, but it's the exact same idea. Okay. Okay, here we go. Our last box. This is, I think, just specifically for the Kickstarter. There's a whole bunch of scenarios that you've got here. Notice that I have the contents listed on the bottom, plus there's a QR code on the rule book that you scan, and then that will take you to the scenarios. And there's a whole bunch of tokens in here that I didn't want to like try to stand up, so I just wanted a small box. So this is the idea that we're going for. This is a box to me because it has a lid as opposed to the others that were just trays. Okay, so we're going to be making this box here. And this is the template. It's the exact same as my Tiny Towns template. All right, now let's go ahead and start. You can see this design's a little more complicated. All right, taking a look at the four corners. I don't know how to describe this. Looking at the four corners, what we want to do is cut small angles. Again, this is kind of optional. It's going to be hidden, but this is going to be stuff that gets wrapped around. And so if you don't do this, the folds don't look so good. So I'm starting on the printed corner and just cutting that way just a little bit. So if you need to watch me to see the final shape, no big deal. Get that like that. It's going to be hidden, but that's kind of the point, is because it's going to be hidden, it's a little bit, you need to kind of get rid of the squareness of it. All right. Okay, so looking at this long ways, you can kind of see just gentle angles there. Now we have a bunch of dotted lines. We're just going to cut on the dotted lines, and let me do two slow ones again. Dotted line here, dotted line here. And just like before, we have kind of this tab out here. It's not a tab, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and make that trapezoidal. Scary. Okay. Now, if it was me doing it for real, I would usually just do one snip like that, and then one snip like that, a snip like that, and a snip like that. Okay, so those are kind of the edge dotted lines, and then you're going to see a T dotted line right here and a T dotted line up here. So we're going to go ahead and cut that T like so. Almost there. Okay. And then the last thing is, do you see how this T has like a long side and then a short side? We need to do just a weird angle cut. I should have put dots. I might put dots on these before I post. I'm going to try to put dots on these so it matches everything else. I just came up with the dots more recently than this template. I'll put dots. Okay, so we're going to cut here and here. All right, so if you need to watch me first. Okay, just a cut like that. And a cut like that. So this is kind of weird because it's on the inside, not on the outside like the other ones were. All right, so when you're done, it should look like that. All of the cuts are done. Let's go ahead and start folding. So once again, I'm going to turn it upside down, and you can basically see there's going to be sides and sides. So let's start there. Kind of just like before, let's start by taking these tabs and folding them inward. Now remember, we kind of cut this at an angle, so don't try to make that part level with the top part. You kind of just got to eyeball it maybe. This one we didn't really do anything with, so we can just fold that over. And then I'm going to take this part and fold it down. So you can see we got our 3 main folds right there. Oh, I didn't do a great job on that one. Let me fix it. I was a bad cutter. All right, here we go. Next up. There's my line right there. Okay. Here's my line here. I'm kind of just pulling it and looking for the line, and then I crease it down, and then we'll bring those down like that. Flip it over. We got to do the other side. So tab, tab, side. Okay. Tab, tab, side. All right, we've got the tops and the bottoms done. Now we've got all of these folds all along the middle part. Now what I like to do is I usually just start on one side, it doesn't matter which one, and I kind of just start pulling it. And I try to utilize the cuts as much as possible. Again, a part of this is tricky because I've made this so many times, but I just start pulling and I notice there's a line there, so I crease it. Right here, there's going to be another line. So pull it and then crease it. Right here, I can see the cuts, so I know that I'm going to have another line right there. Something like that. And then I'm going to keep pulling. You can see I'm just using my right hand and pulling. And if we notice right here, the tabs are going to line up like magic, like that. And then I'm going to keep pulling, and I see another line right there, so I'm going to just slowly bring it down. This one, you can kind of see the tabs. Like if you were to pull those tabs over, they help kind of guide you. Okay, another just a small trick that I've learned as I've done this. Then we're going to keep pulling like that. And at this point, there's basically 2 more folds, but I'm just going to like turn this thing upside down and around. We've got all of those folds done. And now I'm going to start over here, same thing that we did over there. Pull that trapezoid down. And then I just got my final fold right there. Okay. All right, we have folds everywhere that we need. Now, this looks complicated, but it's going to be okay. We're going to start, this is almost identically in half, right? It's pretty close. We're going to start on the bottom side, the side with the longer T tabs right here. Okay? All I'm going to do is I'm going to take these sides, see what I'm doing? Take those sides and fold them upward. And I'm going to bring this one doesn't have the same stability that the other ones do because it's too long, but we're going to just bring these up and bring that side up and over, and I'm just going to check and make sure that my corners look like I want them to, and I'm holding them, and I'm just going to tape right here to make sure that You can see that. I just tried to get all 3 pieces, tab, tab, and tab. All 3 of those with 1 piece of tape. Okay. Now what we're going to do is turn it around like this. I'm going to flop all of this box inward like that and keep these wings on the outside. Because basically what's going to happen is, here, can you see this? We're going to bring the side of the box up and down around those wings. So here's my wings right here. So I'm going to flop this thing back over like that. Make sure my corners look okay. And then I'm going to pinch right here. And basically I just need to get some tape right there. Now it's on printing, so I'm using the crystal tape because I'm crazy. You could even, sometimes I do this, I like hold on to it like that. Again, my goal is to tape this down. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of tape right there and make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, there's the base of the box that's going to hold all of the tokens. And now we're just going to make the lid. The lid is so easy. All right, so we got these 2 wings down here. These actually just get taped. The reason I don't have you cutting off those wings, I'll show you when we finish, if I remember. Essentially, they're going to take a little bit of wear and tear, so I wanted to make sure they were strong. Okay, now this is going to be the exact same thing we did at first. Take these tabs, bring this up and over. Make sure you like your corners, that they're not too far in or too far out. Pinch and tape. And here's what I was talking about. As you open and close this thing, this right here is where all of the friction's going to be. So that's just why I have it doubled over to make sure that it's rubbing on the correct part like that. Fill it with your tokens. And now you've got all of your non-player scenario tokens together because I have all of the scenario tokens in right there. Those are for the player-specific scenario tokens. Anyway. Now we can go ahead and pack everything back up. One little thing that I wanted to point out is there are 2 boards and they are dual layered and they are heavy and they are crazy. Anyway, so something I did is I just took 2 1-inch strips of paper. So this is 11 inches here and then 11 inches here. I taped them together and then I just kind of like gently laid them in the base of the box and put them here. And that way, hopefully, in theory, oh my gosh, hold on, I gotta go off camera for a second just to bring those to the middle. In theory, it'll be easier to take your maps out when it comes time for that. You can just lift them out like that. Okay, so to pack everything back up, make sure your maps are nice and snug in one of the corners. And then I really did my best to make sure that when you put these in, these pads, they will actually fit in the corner, and that will help keep your maps from sliding around too crazily. You could do one here and one here. You could do one here, whatever your heart desires. I haven't tried putting them in opposite sides. Let's do that. That'll be very exciting. So that'll keep your maps nice and snug. Let's see, we could go for where should we go next? Okay, let's go with this one next. We'll put it in that corner or somewhere. It really doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm extending this video longer than I have to. We'll go ahead and just put our player boxes. Now, in theory, you could fit 4 player boxes like that. There is a 5th player, so we'll just put it somewhere. And then we've got this box here. We have our tokens box here. And then we have our retailers little box here. I just tried to make sure that because like this could really easily fall in there, or you could put it in there on purpose. It really doesn't matter. But that is something that I've been aware of. So we've got all of our boxes. Usually next I put in the boards and then all of the rule books, and there's a lot of different rule books here, plus the player shields and all of that stuff. Those go there. And here you go. So find something good to watch on TV. You're going to be cutting and folding for a while, but in theory, it's totally worth it because it's pretty much free. I mean, you just have to make sure you have paper and ink. And I think really worth it, especially if you're a vertical storer, which I am, because the lid is on tight. This isn't going anywhere. And there you have it. My smartphone do-it-yourself solution. Holy cow, that video was long. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had fun. Have a good night. Bye.